Oh, yeah, back again. Podcast with absolutely no name here on DTV. We got more teachers editions for you because we've decided that those are the best. I'm here with Zach and Matt, and we are kicking it. We're about to do an NBA podcast. Matt, tell us what this topic's about.
The topic is 90's basketball or basketball today. What's the better product that's put on the floor?
I can't see how there's even much comparison. I mean, in the 90's, they actually played basketball. Now it's like layup drill, one-on-one. We'll put the ball over here in the corner. Everybody else get out of the way. It's like you're playing junior high again. It's okay, give the ball to the good kid. Everybody else just get out of his way.
What do you got to say about that, Randy?
I go the opposite way.
What?
Now, I believe that the talent that we have in the league is greater now than we had back then. These people are doing phenomenal things at a phenomenal clip. Now, yes, I do believe the defense is severely lacking. The lack of competition hurts as well.
Yep.
But the pure how these athletes have gotten better at what they do, shooting especially, and I think there is a lot of ball movement and trickery to it. What you're not seeing is the grinded out kind of basketball, which I do enjoy also. But I do like a more wide open style, and some of these athletic guys are just freaky. You watch Steph Curry. There's nobody in the 90's that gets close to that.
No. He's one of those you walk in the gym, he's making it.
Yeah.
And I will say that, you're right to a point where the athletes are definitely bigger, stronger, faster, because there's almost no real off season anymore. Even the champions, what was it this year? They told him at the podium that he had to go to the parade, and he was like, "What? I can't go back home. I got to stick around more," because their off season is so small now. They get off the parade and they go start working out, and they're always now they have dietitians. And you tell me Rick Mahorn and Bill Laimbeer had dietitians?
Nope.
Charles Barkley obviously did not.
Still doesn't.
Yeah.
Either do I, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Well, you brought up Steph Curry. I think he changed the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it a better game? Is it a worse game?
It's
Is
definitely
it a different game?
It's definitely a different game.
Yeah, and I think there's more changes than just Steph Curry. He did change the game. But you look at Kevin Durant changed the game. A 7-footer that can do all of that. Now those things grow on trees. There's 7-footers in the NBA on every team who could do similar things to Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? They're dribbling, they're shooting, they're moving to the hoop.
Not play defense?
Not playing defense. That is definitely a common denominator. That's the worst difference to me, I think, between the 90's and now is defense is rare. It is rare.
I look more to like a Dirk Nowitzki than I do for Kevin Durant as far as a 7-footer that could do everything. Because Dirk would even go on the other end. He'd give you some boards. He'd block a few shots. Where the other side of the coin, Durant, that just wasn't important to his game at all. He was all about scoring and helping others score.
Okay. Yeah, no, I see that definitely. That I think what Dirk couldn't do that say Durant does or Wembanyama does, the dribble effect. You got these guys making point guard moves now. Yep. Kevin Durant can hit the outside jumper, but he's not necessarily gonna break your ankles going to the hole right now. You know what I mean? So
the other part of it's the trickle-down effect. It's not just the NBA.
Yeah.
Went to terrible product, but the Michigan State basketball game last night, and the whole game was guys just standing around the three-point line, jacking up shots, tried pick-and-roll plays, no passes to the roller, just trying to kick it out to a guy to hit three. And you look at high school basketball, and it's no different. Go in the gym, what are kids doing? They're not working on fundamentals.
Practicing them half quarters.
Yeah, they're just jacking up shots because they want to be like all the guys they've seen in recent years in the NBA.
Yeah, and when the pros change, it's going to trickle down, right? And I think you are seeing that. And you never used to see that in college so much, but now I think you do see it in college now too. Like you said yesterday, a lot of standing around, you know.
Yep.
All right.
And it's not glamorous to set picks, to get rebounds, to box out. That's not the kids. They're not kids coming up and even the athletes coming up. They don't. That's just not popular.
Okay.
So they don't want to do the the little things. And back in the 80s and 90s, everybody had at least one guy that would do all of that stuff. The Dennis Rodmans, the Oakleys, the Grants, every team had at least one guy whose job was to kind of goon it up, to steal a phrase from hockey. You know, everybody had at least one guy.
Okay.
But
Now-
I think when you watch championship basketball, watch the NBA championship, all of a sudden the defense kicks up.
Yeah.
And you see guys playing a different way than they played during the season.
And I think it's a symptom of seasons just being too long and
Yeah.
people being too disengaged, right? If you know you're on a bad team, say the Pistons, you're on a
Bad team or a terrible
Okay,
team?
terrible
Exactly.
team.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I think you're onto
So-
something there, man.
So I think you get the people who just start to check out, and then you get the superstars who know that, okay, we know we're in the playoffs. I'm just going to roll with it, take my days off, not play as hard.
Load management.
Load management, right. Until the playoffs come, now it's showtime, right? And I can't blame the players for that, even though you want to. You hate it.
Yeah.
As a fan, you don't want to watch it. That's why you don't want to watch it, right?
Yeah.
'Cause nobody's trying, always playing defense. But, yeah, when playoffs come, boom, all of a sudden, hey, it's time to play. Yeah. All right, here's my next question. Do we think it's cyclical? Like in football, we see a lot of things come and go. Like, okay, it's time for big wide receivers. Now it's time for big running backs. Now it's time for, you know what I mean? And it seems to go cyclical. And once the league catches up to what the offenses are doing, then it maybe starts to swing the other way. I think I've seen that a little bit in the NFL. Do we ever think it'll come back the other way in basketball?
I don't know, because they're, like we said before, the athletes are just so much bigger, stronger, faster. It's not like they're going to, you know, Isaiah Thomas and Danny Ainge, they're not coming back anytime soon. You know, the gritty little guy who can, can scrap it up, that's fine. But like you said, Wembanyama, he's, 7 foot plus, moving like a small forward. You're not, why would you go backwards? I think they just need to, I think they'll take what they have now and expand on it and maybe bring in you'll see different versions of some of the older attributes, but I don't think they'll ever get back to the old half court grind it out.
All right.
I wonder if we've reached the point where, with the size of the athletes, if the court size isn't big enough, the hoop isn't high enough. It seems like there has to be some expansion for the size of these athletes, and the space just isn't enough when you've got that big of individuals out on the court at the same time.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that too. Okay, so, all right, so that being said, okay, is there any upside to the game that you like now better than before?
When they do want to get up and down, they can fly. Those, especially like the Golden States, where it's fun to watch them, chuck it from all over the court. And that's fun. And they're definitely one of the teams that does move the ball around, because once again, they're still mostly a team. It's not like some of these other, ones where you just say, okay, LeBron, I'll get out of your way now. And like that, so I think when you get a team that does like to move the ball around, you're seeing things that the guys in the 80s just couldn't do.
Yeah.
They just physically could not do. You couldn't, when's the last time you seen, say, who was the best big man at that time, or the most athletic big man at that time? They still weren't, they didn't have a 40-inch vertical at, 6'11".
Yeah. Oh, definitely. What do you think? Any bright spots?
Defense wins championships, but offense sells tickets.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
people love to watch scoring. They love to watch excitement. And there's a lot of that going on right now. Kids love that kind of stuff. They love the athleticism, the play that goes up on YouTube because somebody does something crazy that you can't believe happened. And I think there's a lot of that goes on right now.
Yeah, they're looking for the highlight instead of the whole game, the whole experience.
Yeah, they can't make a nice TikTok out of a, grinding the shot clock down.
All right.
I've got one for you.
Yeah.
So you throw the best 5 players from the 90s against the 5 best players from today. Who would win?
It just depends the rules you're playing under.
Yeah, if they could do the hand check like they could back then versus now, you look at a guy and it's a foul.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing, is who's reffing the game.
Yeah, exactly. If you go under today's rules, Steph Curry would come down. He would outscore everybody, right? But if you could get up on him and give him some bumps,
yeah, put Gary Payton on him. See how he's going to do.
He looks a little more pedestrian, wouldn't he? Right?
Absolutely.
So I think Yeah, it's hard to compare eras when you get the different rule changes to go with it, right? You got more athletic, more shooting now, but you had guys that played, and you had to man up, man. You had to just man up. So, yeah. All right. So overall, I guess, I mean, I don't mind watching today's basketball because I really do enjoy the talent that's out there. But I think now that having this conversation, I think I did enjoy the competitive nature of it all back then. You know, like forget jersey swaps and shaking hands. There's no animosity in the game. There's no
villains.
There's no villains. There's no drama.
Yeah, there you go.
Everybody's trying to be the nice guy, right? You know, to improve their brand or whatever, right? Like, no, it's okay to hate somebody when you're on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, get a little more hatred in there and get after it.
Well, and the villains you do have today just immediately get suspended by the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have guys like Draymond that do anything in a game that might not even been a foul back in the 90s, and they're suspended for 10 games.
Yeah, and I think more than that, the villains now in NBA are more off the court villains, right? The Ja Morants and people like this who are causing scenes outside of the game more than in the game. Before, we didn't know what Bill Laimbeer did after the game, but he was clotheslining you during the game. That was your villain, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, it's just different eras, man.
That is true. I mean, you look at not only the Pistons Bulls or the Pistons v whomever at that time, but then even the next reincarnation was the Knicks and the Bulls, where those were very physical, very not villainesque, but very, like you said, they're not going to have dinner afterwards.
Yeah, and I think that and I know we're very regional here. We got that Detroit bias with the that bad boy style, right? That going to work Pistons style, right? But a lot of the country looked at a 64-70 game and said, "This is crappy basketball," right? There's no flow to it. It beat each other up. So, where's your guys' take on that? Like, do you think we're a little more, just in that era of grinded out basketball more than the pretty looking basketball because we're from here? Because you talk to people on the West Coast and they were like, those Detroit teams were terrible to watch. I didn't want to watch those finals. Of course, we were glued to every game. Yeah. But I mean, where do you stand on that?
Well, it's not like the Celtics were any better. It's not like the 80s Knicks were any better. I know the Atlanta Hawks, they tried a couple of times. They did okay with Dominique, but they didn't really start until they brought Kevin Willis in to start pushing some people around. So, and then even if you go all the way to the West Coast, those Portland teams that Detroit played, they had some goons on their squad as well. But yes, most definitely we are Midwest Detroit biased because you know what you see, and that's the other thing too with the game now is this fans can just whip out their phone and watch anyone anywhere. Yeah. Where back then you could only really see where you're if you were lucky you had one of the big radar satellite dishes in the backyard that took 5 minutes to change channels, or there's the infancy of the different services for the league passes and that type of thing. So you really were just, fans of who you could watch.
Okay.
I agree. This area were hard, tough working people, especially in those times. It was working in the factories and you had these guys getting off work and they'd go watch people that were like them. They were going and being gritty and working hard and earning their paycheck. And I think today people look at it as these guys are just mailing it in. They don't really care. They're just playing this because it's something they can make a living from, not because they're truly passionate about it.
All right. Okay. I think we're going to wrap this one on here. We got one more question. One more question we'll give you. All right. And I'm going to go ugly with this one. Oh, jeez. All right. One word. Describe the current Detroit Pistons right now.
Hot garbage.
One word. Great job.
I hyphenated.
All right, that counts.
Promising.
Really? Promising.
Because there's no place to go but up.
There's still so much talent out there. There's still guys that just think they haven't figured it out.
Okay.
Especially, the last few games have been rough, but they were in so many games against good teams. Like, it's there. will it ever come together? I don't know. I hope that they don't just mop it all up and bring in new guys and a new coaching staff, because all you're going to do is start over again.
Yeah.
They at least got to let this play out a little bit and see if they can make something. Like we've talked.
Yeah.
There's a lot of veterans sitting the bench that are hurt right now. Mm-hmm. Put some of those older guys that have some experience in there with some of the young blood.
Yeah. I really believe that we're going to see a turnaround. I'm not talking about great, you know what I mean? But I think when we get some of those veterans back and they start to figure it out, I think you're going to see a change. And I think we'll start winning at a, lower than 500 clip, but it won't be as ugly as it is right now on a 14-game losing streak.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the nucleus is so young. Mm-hmm. I mean, they can't even go to the club yet, some of them, I think.
Yeah.
So.
The oldest guy on the team is Killian Hayes. What? I mean, he was just drafted 3 years ago, right? I think maybe 4 now, but like, come on, that's okay. Okay, I'm sorry, he's not my bad. He's the longest tenured Piston.
Oh.
He's not the oldest guy. I misspoke there. He's the longest tenured Piston. So the guy who's been on the team the longest is just he seems like he was drafted yesterday. He's
terrible.
Yes.
He's hot garbage. He needs to go.
I was hoping it would be different because I really put my money on him, but it's not. He's done. He's done.
Hey, maybe they got to go back to 90s basketball and
rough it up a little bit.
Let's
right?
see if that works. What's
right.
going on right now isn't working.
Beef Stew's the new villain, right?
There you go.
All right, y'all. Thanks for joining us. The podcast with no name, 90s NBA edition. We are out.